So some much needed pressure relief for the team and Xavi, and finally something to cheer about for the fans. Let's get straight into it. So coming back of the poor run of results, this was an absolute must-win game for Xavi and all the players in his team. And this was one of those tricky matches where you come up against an opposition that seems to the eye as a much lesser opposition than what we have seen Barca play against in last 3-4 matches. But if you have seen La Liga, or if you follow La Liga closely, you would know that Villarreal is one of the most trickiest team to play against. In fact, they are the teams who knocked out Bayern Munich in last year's Champions League. So this was a team that have proven to be very competitive and also very difficult to break down, and also they play a pretty offensive form of football. So from Barca's perspective, it was a very tricky situation to deal with, because under no circumstances they could have afforded to lose this game, and if they had lost this game, then things would have spiraled out of control completely. And even though Laporta and all the fans are supporting Xavi, serious seed of doubts would have started to set in, and this is why the display that Barcelona put, especially in the first half, was such a fresh breath of air. So we talked about all the changes that the team required, and we have seen Xavi paying heed to all the informations and speculations going around the club and on the internet, and all the fans just in general showing their discomfort and lack of belief in some of the older players, some of the veterans of the club, and how they have not performed on the levels that you require a Barca player to do. And with all due respect to all those legends of the game, it's a young man's game. Football is a physically demanding sport, and you have to be on the peak physical shape to compete, let's say on the top of the Europeans food chain, let's say. So from that point on, what some of the changes that Xavi made in this game were pretty obvious, and he just had to do it. And kudos to the players like Ferran Torres, Ansu Fati, to some extent even Jordi Alba. All of those players have really performed well tonight, and the result goes down to those players, and definitely Lewandowski. So I talked about this in the previous video, that we are depending too much on Lewandowski, and tonight's match was another one of those occasions where we saw that the two goals that opened up the scoring came from Lewandowski, and both of were mostly down to individual brilliance. Yes, Pedri made a brilliant through pass, and Jordi Alba played a very good cross and all, but the first finish was down to Lewandowski. The second finish was entirely Lewandowski. So if you take Lewandowski out of this team, I still don't see any sure shot goal scorer. And as much as happy I am seeing Barcelona win tonight and Lewandowski again scoring a brace, this puts even more concern in my mind that what if Lewandowski is not there? Because we have depended so much on one single individual for over the course of a decade in the form of Lionel Messi, that if this team once again goes down that path where too much reliance and dependency all falls down on one single player, then it's a lose-lose for both the player and the team, because that player faces an insurmountable amount of pressure that he should not, and the club becomes reluctant or too much overbearing on the singular player. So this is a tricky situation. I obviously do not mean that I don't want to see Lewandowski scoring. What I mean to say is, for once, some other players should turn out and perform on a consistent level where they seem like legitimate goal scoring threats. Ansu Fati scored tonight. Ansu Fati played very well in the last match, whatever minute he got in the El Clasico, but he needs a lot more time. As you can see, he was very rusty even tonight. The finish that he did was almost down to fortune. So this is a concern. Obviously, I'm really happy, again reiterating it once again, I mean absolutely no sense of doubt or any sort of confusion in my mind that I want to see Lewandowski scoring, but there also needs to be someone who can take his place when he's not there. And what do I mean by him not being there is basically, I mean, in different competitions. So let's say in the Champions Leagues, or for now Europa League, or in La Liga, in crucial matches where knockout matches and big stake matches, obviously Lewandowski is going to come in and Lewandowski is expected to score. But in matches like Copa del Rey, or in matches like let's say the bottom half team in La Liga, in those matches you need to give Lewandowski rest. And if anything, in last season what we have seen with the injuries of Pedri and Ansu Fati, that you cannot come down to one single player. Messi is a freak of nature. How he did this for years and years is beyond my understanding completely. And you cannot expect to have a Messi in every season, and this is something that worries me right now. But apart from that, it was a very, very relaxing, very professional display from Barcelona. But the defensive line is still nowhere near top class. Or what I mean by that is, we are not anywhere near competing with the best teams out there as far as our defensive lines are concerned. Koundé was absolutely scintillatingly brilliant, and if not for Koundé, probably we would have been 2-0 down, or at least the scoreline could have been much different. So what Koundé did tonight was single-handedly maintain the back line. So he was single-handedly taking care of some of the mistakes that Alonso was doing, some of the wrong decisions that probably Roberto was making. And Jordi Alba was another player who did really well tonight. He proved his point to some extent, but he needs to do that on big matches on a consistent level to be considered as a real wing-back option. So kudos to the team, kudos to the manager. They showed character, they showed class, and they showed belief for once. And this now comes down to, for me, which wingers to choose for which matches. Because obviously, just because Ferran Torres and Ansu Fati performed in tonight's match, and Ferran was absolutely brilliant, let's be very honest about this. His positional sensing and some of his passing and some of his dragging the defenders with him and making space for the likes of Pedri, Gavi, De Jong to make the runs and just play the ball through, and also being in attacking positions where he is creating chances, he is giving the other forwards more avenues to work with. Keeping all those things in mind, he has been very, very good in tonight's match. And Dembele and Rafinha are two genuine quality players. Inconsistent maybe, but these are genuine impact creating quality players. And we have to be very careful of how we use all those four wingers, because I feel on the one hand we have Dembele and Rafinha, who are made of finesse, more flamboyance, and they like to show their skills. They're not afraid of taking on players. And on the other hand, we have Ferran and Ansu Fati. Ansu Fati is again a very skillful, very flamboyant footballer, but also a very calm-headed footballer. And Farhan probably more technically sound and just getting things right, thinks more about football, but lacks in some cases with the final execution. So this has been an issue, and this is something we have to look into further going forward. So finally, a positive result comes our way, and now we have to work even more and harder and look at some of the things that we did not do relatively well in tonight's match, and some of the things that we did particularly very good in, and just build on that and work on it even further. So this is Azim signing off. If you are still up this late at the night and watching Barca play, then you, my friend, is a true cooler. Till next time, Visca el Barça.